Good morning. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us today to hear the scholarly research presentation of Karen Carty, a doctoral candidate in Bradley University's EDD program in the Higher Education Administration Leadership Concentration. The research project being presented today is titled, "What Makes Them Leave? Retaining and Graduating Black Males at Lincoln Prairie University." Before we begin, I want to remind everyone that the presentation is being recorded. Also, please remember to mute your microphone. Following the presentation, there will be an opportunity for you to ask questions and offer comments relative to the presentation. And now I will turn the floor over to Karen.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here as I present my scholarly research presentation. Let me share my screen so we can get started. Oh, wait, I did that wrong. Here we go. Can everybody see it? Awesome. All right, so my scholarly research project, which is entitled "What Makes Them Leave? Retaining and Graduating Black Male Students at Lincoln Prairie University." Before we get started, let's review the agenda of what we'll be covering today. So I'll introduce you to my research, review the past literature, then review the methodology and methods, report the findings of this study, and then close with some concluding thoughts. Schools across the country struggle to retain and graduate their Black male students. According to the United States Department of Education, only 38% of Black male students graduate within 6 years from four-year institutions, compared to 64.1% of white male students. When graduation time is reduced to 4 years, that percentage of Black male students drops to just 21%. When looking at the numbers, it makes you wonder what is causing Black male students to leave school or not graduate at the same rates as other student groups. So let's jump right into the research problem and purpose of this study. The research problem is that Black male students at Lincoln Prairie University are retained and graduate at lower rates than other student groups on campus. Lincoln Prairie University, or LPU, as I'll be referring to it as, is a pseudonym for my research site. And then the purpose of this case study was to understand the factors related to Black male students on LPU's campus being retained and graduating at lower rates than other student groups, and then determining what actions LPU could take to increase those rates. The research was guided by 3 questions that are closely aligned to the purpose, which are the 4 factors are related to Black male students being retained and graduating at lower rates than other student groups on LPU's campus. And then the final question, what actions could LPU take to increase the graduation and retention rates of its Black male students? I'll be saying that phrase a lot, so definitely get accustomed to it. Here are some definitions that will be used throughout the presentation and making understanding the literature just a little easier. So historically Black college or university, an institution that was originally founded to educate students of African-American descent, historically white institution, an institution whose history includes policies and practices that denied admissions for people of color, in addition to equitable access to resources, campus spaces, and opportunities. Persistence, which is a student's ability to continue on to the next term. So to continue from semester to semester while you're in school. Predominantly white institution is one in which whites account for 50% or more of the student enrollment, while a traditionally white institution is one that has traditionally had a larger population of white students when compared to other student groups at the institution. So the significance of the study. As many of you know, I used to work at Bradley University in the athletics department, and I was there when I began this doctoral program. I served on President Standifer's Racial Equity Advisory Group that researched the racial climate on campus. And we found that students of color at Bradley were not graduating at the same rates as other student groups on campus. The report also found that male students were 4 times as likely to leave the university before graduating than other student groups. And then of the Black male students who started at Bradley in 2016, only 25.6 of them graduated in 4 years. Completing this study will help Bradley and other PWIs identify issues that prevent Black male students from graduating and being retained. So let's jump right into the literature. There have been numerous studies completed in the last 50 years about academic and social experiences of Black male students on PWI campuses. 3 themes emerge from the literature, and they are negative factors affecting graduation and retention rates, positive factors affecting those same rates, and solutions for combating the issues of those low rates. The framework that I used to complete this study was the campus climate framework, which takes into account an institution's historical legacy and connects it to current institutional problems. And campus climate is defined as the current attitudes, behaviors, and standards of faculty, staff, administrators, and students concerning the level of respect for individual needs, abilities, and potential. So starting off with the negative factors found in the literature that affect retention and graduation rates of Black male students. 5 of them came out. They were campus climate, feelings of isolation, racism and microaggressions, academic performance, and availability of financial assistance. So starting with the campus climate, a study by Harper and Hurtado found that campuses were racially segregated and conversations about race rarely took place outside of ethnic studies classes. Students of color on PWI campuses, and Black male students in particular, sometimes viewed the campus climate as toxic and unwelcoming, which had a negative effect on their college experiences. The same study. Basically, you guys are going to help. Kyle, can you mute, please? Create a community service project on our own. You guys are helping put all that together along with the logistics. And then next is the mentorship program. There we go. Thank you. Same study by Harper and Hurtado found that outside of ethnic and multicultural centers on campus, students of color did not share cultural ownership of other spaces with white students. So they felt that they didn't have any ownership of spaces that were not designated for them specifically. Students of color experienced harassment at higher rates than whites in Rankin and Reason study. And those participants, 75% of them said harassment came from other students on campus, while 20% reported that faculty members were the source of the harassment. And then back to Harper and Hurtado's study, white students were the most satisfied with their social environments at PWI campuses. And because they were satisfied with the campus climate, they incorrectly felt that students of color were equally satisfied, showing that white students and students of color had very different experiences and perceptions of their campus climates. Moving on to feelings of isolation. So Fortier in her study found that students of color experience isolation or discomfort while being on campuses because of a lack of ownership of campus traditions, which were monopolized by white students. Then Harper et al. Coined the term onlyness, which is a psycho-emotional burden of having to strategically navigate racially politicized spaces occupied by few people who look like you. So it was not uncommon for participants in that study to be the only Black male on campus, in class, or in certain situations. Another study by Harper found that Black male student leaders felt burdened to be exceptional and were expected by their white peers and university administrators to serve as spokespersons for all Black issues. And then finally, in Otley and Ellis's study, Black male students felt like outsiders because of the small number of other Black male students on campus, and they were negatively affected by the lack of Black role models who were faculty and staff members. Moving on to racism and microaggressions. Although racism cannot be exclusively blamed for Black male students not being retained or persisting to graduation, it does play a central role in the experience that these students have at PWIs. In Harper's 2015 study, Black male students experienced microaggressions that included assumptions that they were drug dealers only on campus because they were athletes, that they were admitted to school through affirmative action, they were from low income or high crime neighborhoods, and that they were not capable of producing quality academic work simply because they were Black. Excuse me. In a study by Harper and Davis, it was found that white instructors were often surprised when Black male students made thoughtful comments in class and routinely accused them of cheating if they did well on exams or submitted well-written papers. And then in another study by Harper, Black male students were found to spend time and effort to avoid conforming to any stereotypes that exist about Black men, which led them to constantly try to prove everybody wrong by working hard to avoid those stereotypical behaviors. This is called avoiding stereotype threat, which arises when a person is in a situation or doing something for which a negative stereotype exists about their group, or it applies to their group. It threatens that person with being negatively stereotyped, being judged, treated stereotypically, or with the prospect of conforming to a stereotype. Moving on to academic performance. In terms of academic performance, past studies have either focused on academic deficiency or resilience of Black male students on college campuses. Glenn mentioned several reasons why some Black students struggle academically, which include inadequate preparation for higher education from certain high schools, lack of positive self-esteem, low SAT scores, and a lack of alternatives to standardized admission tests. Referring back to that Palmer et al. Study, however, they found that support from peers, faculty, and role models helped Black male students to learn and achieve academic success, showing that when they have a support system that includes individuals who look like them, they are more likely to succeed academically. Then the availability of financial assistance. It plays a very important role in whether students with financial need can attend college or complete degrees once they begin school. Palmer et al. Found that 7 of their 11 participants faced a lack of financial aid that interfered with their success in school. Glenn also gave some reasons that Black male students drop out of college, which include unmet financial need, lack of flexibility in tuition payments and scheduling, and having to fully depend on financial aid to cover costs because of lower socioeconomic backgrounds. Cabrera et al., though, found that being awarded student aid allows students to continue their academic pursuits while allowing for social engagement and integration into campus life. So because they don't have to worry about paying for school, they can spend more time being students on campus, which allows them to engage academically and then enhance their academic performance. Now let's look at some positive factors that affect retention and graduation of Black male students on PWI campuses. Those factors are peer and mentor support systems, campus leadership experiences, and Black male retention initiatives. One of the strategies that Black male students use to succeed in PWI environments is seeking out peers or faculty and staff members to provide them with various types of support. Participants in Harper's 2013 study took on the roles of institutional agents with the responsibility of educating their same race peers at PWIs, basically telling them early on how to navigate the racial climate on campus and making themselves available to new students as a form of resource. In Black and Bimper's 2020 study, Black male students form personal support networks with other Black male students on campus to successfully navigate campus organizations and systems that were not necessarily designed to help them. And then Brooms and Davis had their participants cite peer-to-peer bonding with other Black male students on campus and mentoring from Black faculty members as critical components to their college experience, which helped them to persist toward graduation. Then Brooms and Davis found that relationships with African-American professors were critical to Black male students developing inside and outside the classroom. Being able to be mentored by Black faculty members helped those participants to navigate campus life more successfully and then to prepare them for life after college. Studies have shown that when Black male students participate in retention initiatives that involve student leadership roles, they were more engaged and more persistent than their uninvolved peers. Black male retention initiatives at PWIs allowed members to serve in leadership roles on campus, help those members to persist to graduation. And then Drury and Brooms found that retention initiatives create a culturally enriching environment that positively contributes to Black male students' overall college experience, provides a support network for them, and then enhances their personal development. We just talked about some specific initiatives related to leadership, but retention initiatives geared toward Black male students have been found to be successful at increasing retention and graduation rates of Black male students on campuses. Specifically, Black male-centered institution-based programs have helped in developing a peer community on campus for Black male students. Otley and Ellis found that their participants felt supported and motivated to work harder as a result of partaking in a Black male retention initiative on their campus. And then Black and Bimper reviewed a first-year program in their study that was designed for incoming freshmen and undergrad students that aimed to increase retention and graduation rates by helping students to adjust to the college experience, because that is one of the main factors that cause Black male students and students in general to leave school when they cannot fully adjust to the college experience. So now let's look at some solutions offered by the literature to improve low retention and graduation rates for Black male students. 3 of those solutions include Black male retention initiatives, which I just mentioned, summer bridge programs, and changing the campus climate. Summer bridge programs can be viewed as a means to remedy inadequate academic preparation for college or as a means of maintaining academic momentum. Burr and Myrick found that Black male students who participated in a summer educational bridge program immediately following high school, but prior to the start of their fall semester of their freshman year, showed greater retention, higher GPAs, and higher graduation rates than students who did not participate in the program. Douglas and Atwell also found that bridge programs between high school and college have statistically significant positive effects on degree completion, and that bridge programs work best for students who are at higher risk for not completing college, not graduating. And one additional benefit of a bridge program is that same race peer support that Black male students receive while participating. In Harper's study, it was shown that Black male students who did the bridge program together stayed together and persisted to graduation. All right, so another set of solutions. Campus climate. The literature points to several actions that can be taken to change and improve a campus climate that does not fully support all of its constituents. It is important to note that diversity and inclusion efforts are incomplete if they do not fully address the campus climate. But some other ways to increase the retention rates of Black male students at PWIs include, like I mentioned, summer bridge programs and other pre-college programs that help students adjust to college life, recruiting Black faculty and staff members, and also just faculty and staff members of color, creating social adjustment programs that address the unique needs of Black students in PWI settings, adding courses to the core curriculum that speak to the needs of Black people, creating safe spaces on campus where students can have free discussions with their peers and mentors about racist experiences on and off campus and just their college experiences in general, reducing racism in the classroom by having faculty members recognize their own implicit biases and correcting their racial illiteracy. And then hosting workshops and lunch and learns on topics like cultural awareness, intersectionality, microaggressions, and other things. So let's get into more of this particular study and review the methodology and methods that were used for this study. The study was done at Lincoln Prairie University, which is a pseudonym for my research site. It's a private 4-year, predominantly white institution in the Midwest that has a student population of about 5,000 students. 67% of the student population is white, 13% is Hispanic and Latinx, 8% are Black, and 4% are Asian. This study was a qualitative action research case study that collected data via a focus group. Qualitative research is an approach to understanding the meaning individuals or groups ascribe to a social or human problem. Action research is a type of research done by or with insiders of an organization or community to address a problematic situation, while a case study is an in-depth analysis of a case, often a problem, event, activity, process, or one or more individuals. And then my data was collected via a focus group, which is an interview method in which a small group of people are interviewed together. Now let's talk about my study participants. I had the pleasure of working with 6 amazing Black male students that went to LPU. 3 of them had graduated and were off in the working world. 1 had graduated and immediately returned for graduate school. 2 were currently juniors. Participant 3 was a junior at LPU, while participant 5 was he left LPU after his sophomore year. He signed up for the study while he was at LPU, but ended up transferring for athletic reasons. So if he didn't have any issues playing on the football team, he would have stayed and persisted to graduation. So one quick note there. They ranged in age from 19 to 23. They all self-identified as Black, with participant number 6 mentioning that he was mixed with Black and white. Their GPAs range from 3.5 to 4.0. You can see their majors listed there, and all 6 of them were involved in campus activities, with 4 of them being student athletes, 3 on the football team, 1 on the diving team. The 2 non-athletes were involved in Greek letter fraternities, and one of those 2 was the SGA president. And let's get into the research method. So the process began in January 2022, when LPU's multicultural office sent a recruitment email. Literally nobody responded to the January email, so we followed up in March and April, which we got the respondents then. Once the volunteers responded, they received the focus group information and consent forms. They returned those consent forms electronically. We held the interview on June 27, 2022, and it lasted about an hour. The data was physically collected in a recorded Google Meet. And while it was recording, the transcription service otter.ai automatically captured everything we said. So it made the transcribing process really easy. To collect the data, 9 open-ended questions were asked. Then when it came to data analysis, once the interview finished, I reviewed the transcript that was automatically generated while watching the recording and made edits to enhance accuracy. I sent the transcript and recorded interview to my participants to verify accuracy, which is known as member checking, which is one of the best ways to verify and make sure your data is valid. Went through a coding process using those different codes, and then a second round of coding where I noted patterns, grouped all the codes into themes, came up with some themes, and the analysis took a while, but I got it finished. It started in June, right after the interview wrapped up, and concluded in December. So a quick note here on my positionality. As I mentioned, I'm a former Bradley staff member. And I worked hard to keep my biases in check during the interview process so that I avoided asking leading questions, because as a former Black staff member who is female that worked at a PWI, I experienced some of the same factors that hinder Black male students on PWI campuses. So it was extremely important for me to keep my experiences and my feelings out of the research. All right, now we get to the good stuff where we talk about the findings. So here are the research questions one more time. The factors that are related to Black male students being retained at lower rates, graduating at lower rates, and the actions that LPU could take to increase those rates. So, fancy display of all these findings. The participants essentially had a variety of both positive and negative experiences as Black men on LPU's campus. They mentioned feelings of isolation. The participants experienced isolation in both social and academic settings, with participant 1 specifically mentioning that there were times he was pointed out by his instructor as the only Black student in class, and was routinely asked to be a representative for the entire Black community with questions like, what do Black people think about XYZ? They also had multiple examples of racism and microaggressions, experiencing racist interactions and microaggressions either directly or they heard about them from their peers. The student athletes, they went through quite a lot. They were called lazy, talked about being privileged, that they were only student athletes, so they didn't have to work hard. And the professors and classmates were surprised when they made thoughtful comments in class or did well on their assignments. And what was exceptionally sad was that several of the participants had friends who were called the N-word by white students on campus. In terms of their peer and mentor systems, they were grateful for those Black peers and mentors that they had on campus. The student athletes had the extra benefit of having a built-in support system with their teammates that kind of helped to shield them more from the negative campus experiences that they could have gone through. The participants also mentioned Nate, which is a pseudonym for one of the Black staff members at the multicultural office on campus, who was well known for supporting Black students on campus and students of color in general. And many students credited him as the reason why they stayed at LPU as long as they did. In terms of financial assistance, all 6 participants chose to attend LPU because of the financial assistance that they received. Some of the other reasons they mentioned for attending include receiving the best financial package of all their offers, the school being close to home, being there to participate in athletics, or because they had a full scholarship and because of the small school size. Participants had both negative and positive academic experiences. Participant 5 in particular spoke of how helpful and supportive his instructors were, and participant 1 recalled how the instructors of color treated him very well. Participant 1 also had some negative experiences because he felt that the majority of his instructors didn't care about him at all, which was really sad to hear. Participant 4 felt like instructors picked on him unfairly and a lot in class in situations where he was the only Black student, and then forced him to participate on days where he didn't feel like participating when the teacher wasn't necessarily doing that to the white students in the class. And then another finding that was interesting, but not racially related to anything that they had experienced, was that they all mentioned having problems with poor academic advising. So it wasn't that they received poor advising because they were Black. It just seemed to be that there was a problem with the academic advising processes on campus. From this study, 3 areas of suggested actions came about. The participants wanted to see an increase in the diversity of campus employees. They wanted to have open and honest conversations on campus about racial issues. And one thing that was very specific to this study was that they wanted the university to promote Black student events and organizations better and more consistently. One thing they ran into was they didn't feel like the Black events on campus were being properly promoted. But they also took ownership in that they didn't fully utilize the campus resources to promote their events through the school newspaper and the daily student blast that went out via email. And because of those, they only marketed basically on social media. And because most of their followers were Black students, the word didn't get out about their events to everybody. So they would typically only have other Black students show up. Overall, the participants in my study didn't consider leaving, with the exception of participant 5, who left for football reasons, not any social academic reasons, and none of them were hindered from graduating. The 2 that were still in school didn't report anything that would potentially stop them, so I can assume that they would all persist to graduation. All of the participants took refuge in the formal and informal campus activities that basically were safe spaces for them, like organized campus events and then spontaneous meetups with other Black students on campus. All right, so let's wrap this thing up with some concluding thoughts. The finding from this study can be synthesized into 2 main themes, which are understanding campus climate and a comprehensive campus environment. Students have been shown to succeed in campus climates that are supportive, welcoming, and can provide safe spaces for them to grow and learn. The growth and development of students are hindered when they're a part of campus environments that are toxic, unwelcoming, and unsafe. And then in terms of a comprehensive campus environment, administrators should pursue comprehensive improvements to all parts of their campus operations so that Black male students can feel comfortable and supported enough to be retained and to graduate. The recommendations for practice that I came upon in this study include improving your campus climate and then examining campus operations. Understanding an institution's campus climate and the areas that may need improvement can help administrators make necessary changes, which will lead to Black male students being able to comfortably and confidently navigate PWI campuses. And then in terms of examining your campus operations, administrators also need to take an impartial look at all campus operations and possibly complete an equity audit to determine if Black male students and students of color feel like they can freely exist on campus and have what they need to persist to graduation. Do not underestimate the power of simply asking students what they want or need. Too often, we get caught up in trying to solve problems for people without asking those people what they want or need. In terms of recommendations for future research, I have a few. Conduct a campus-wide study that aims to include all Black students on campus so that you can get a statistically significant number of participants so that you can get a really true picture of what the Black experience is like on campus. I'd also recommend to complete a mixed method study that could include a review of data trends and retention and graduation rates, surveys and focus groups so that you can get again, a wide range of answers to fully understand the Black male experience on your campus. Recruit students of various academic profiles. Provide IRB approved incentives to help with recruitment. If I was offering something, I am sure people would have responded to that January email. And then including first year students to understand what their on-campus experience is like and what factors affect their retention. Because once you start getting to sophomores, juniors, and seniors, they're accustomed to the campus environment. They may be kind of numb to it and just know that they need to push through to get to graduation. So talking to first year students will kind of get you a better understanding of what the on-campus experience is like for people who are experiencing it for the first time. The research did have some limitations, but we were able to work through them. 3 of them are the sample size, the fact that I only had 6 participants, and that was not truly reflective of the entire Black male student population on LPU's campus. There are about 200 students, 200 Black male students on campus, so the experiences of 6 of them cannot possibly encompass the experiences of all of them. Academic profile of my participants was also a limitation because they were all high achievers. They didn't struggle academically, and their academic experiences are certainly different from those Black male students who are not as academically successful and who may have had to leave school because of poor academic performance. Finally, the number of student athletes as participants was a limitation of this study. 66 of them, 4 of 6, were student athletes who have significantly different student experiences than non-athletes. The team and family nature of athletics provides a built-in support system for student athletes, which can help to increase or maintain retention and reduce feelings of isolation. So my final thoughts. Participants in this study showed that regardless of campus climate, they were able to persist to graduation on a PWI campus. They overcame feelings of isolation, racism, and microaggressions and negative academic experiences and used support from peers and mentors, financial assistance, and positive academic experiences to stay on track towards graduation. With the appropriate levels of academic and social support, a healthy campus climate, and a constantly improving campus, Black male students can achieve academic success, be retained from year to year, and ultimately graduate from PWIs. If campus administrators understand the things that make Black male students leave, the appropriate actions can be taken to make sure that Black male students stay in school and graduate. Here are my references. And I just want to say thank you for everyone who attended today. Time is the most valuable asset that we have as human beings, and I truly appreciate you for sharing your most valuable asset with me today. Thank you.
All right. Great job, Karen. At this time, everyone, let's unmute our mics. Give Karen a big round of applause for a job well done.
Excellent. Good job, Karen.
Good job, Karen.
Good job.
Good job.
Excellent work.
Thank you.
You did it.
Thanks. Thanks, everybody. Oh my gosh, seeing so many faces. Thank you all for being here. Really, really. Yeah. Thanks. Appreciate y'all.
I think we may have broken the record for the number of participants previously held by Dr. Derek Booth.
Ooh.
We're gonna
Come on now.
Oh, look, and I have oh my God, they brought out the mascot at work. Thank you all. I told y'all not to do it, but I appreciate it. Oh, thank you. Thank you, everyone. This is a really big day in my life, and I appreciate it. And I promised myself I won't cry, so I'll hush now. So thank you all.
We're gonna open it up for questions and comments.
Can I go first?
Yep, Dr. Bakken, you got it.
All right, Karen, excellent job. I had two questions for you, but I'm not going to ask the second one because you did a great job addressing it in your limitation section in regards to your student sample and your future research in regards to who you could include and so forth. Because yeah, right away, of course, I noticed high GPAs and so on, but regardless, you did a great job at, through your presentation. And so I won't ask that question. But I do have another question. In your literature review, you talked about changes to campus climate. And I really think that's the most important thing. I mean, everyone needs to buy into it, and it needs to be from students themselves, because sometimes they are negative to each other, and faculty and administrators and staff and so forth. You had mentioned reducing racism in the classroom. So I know you didn't study this, but what would be your suggestions to do this? Because, for example, here at Bradley, I know it still goes on, depending on and it's not just Black students, it's Hispanic and it's, whatever, Asian and so forth. So what might be some suggestions for how we go about to help reduce racism in the classroom?
So I think it begins with conversations on all levels. I think, in the summer when we do our faculty and staff summit before school starts, having those conversations with faculty and staff members, having roundtable sessions where they can kind of freely talk about how they really feel, so that those things can get out there, they can learn, they can kind of grow from there, so that when they go in the classroom, they can understand their implicit biases, have those conversations, learn what those things are, and then work on ways to correct them. So when they have the initial conversations, like I said, at the, the faculty retreat or whatever they have at the beginning of the year, have a workshop on overcoming implicit biases, racial biases, have those conversations, give the faculty and staff members a kind of a blueprint of how to navigate around those, how to overcome those. And then I think it'll eventually translate into the classroom if the faculty and staff members buy into it.
Yeah, I also think maybe having some students come and just do kind of a presentation to everybody about their experiences in the classroom and how what happens and how they respond and so forth. Because I know that professors have power. I mean, they really do. And they can shut a student down for the whole semester based on one comment or one thing they say the very first day. And if a student isn't an active participant, they're not going to learn. Also, we learn from each other. And every student brings a different experience, a different background. And so, I take the viewpoint, I'm going to teach you students something, but I'm going to learn from you, and we're going to learn from each other as we progress through the class. So I think that's a real critical, and I appreciate your response. Thank you.
No problem.
Yeah.
And one thing I can't stay away from enough is involving students in these conversations. I remember one time I was at Bradley and it was kind of an ad hoc diversity and inclusion group, and we were trying to figure out how to make things better. And it was a bunch of faculty and staff members in the room and no students. And we're trying to make things better for these students and not including their voices to understand what they want and need. So that is an important thing to remember as we move forward in making anything better.
Yeah,
Thank you. And again, great job.
yeah,
Thanks.
kind of piggyback on Dr. Bach, and there is a power dynamic there between the instructor and the student. I know I've had students reach out like later in the semester, not necessarily in this EDD program, and they've had issues and concerns over the semester. And I ask them, well, why didn't you say something? And they'll tell me straight up, well, that's my professor. So they, that power dynamic is real. And I think whatever we can do in terms of bringing instructors and students together to kind of talk some of those things out as it relates to that power dynamic and seeking solutions definitely would be a great first step.
I agree.
Anyone else?
Yeah, Karen, I first of all, I mean, congratulations. It was a fantastic presentation
Thank you.
and work that I know you are extremely passionate about. But I wanted to first acknowledge, look at this community of support that you have and the impact that you have made on the individuals that have taken the time to come and listen to your work.
Absolutely.
I hope when you reflect on this day and this presentation and leading up to it, that sticks in your mind, because it's not just about today. Obviously, you've had an impact across the board for every single person that is in this presentation and is invested in your success and invested in your work. So I just wanted to put that out there first. It is obvious to me, and I just wanted to say that as you were giving your presentation, I wrote down notes that really stuck out to me. Some of them were just single words, but some of them were notes about maybe your findings or maybe the literature that really resonated. The first thing was you had mentioned that through your interview process, that several of your participants, I can't remember how many off the top of my head, but several of your participants mentioned that a particular staff member was responsible for their overall retention, persistence, feeling of acceptance on campus. I think the element of human connection, all of this resonates to human connection, right? And that statement was just stuck out to me because I believe that that's true on an overwhelming amount of higher education institutions and learning opportunities in general. But I'm not sure that as an institution, generally, we tap into that experience and that what is working in those connections. I think we sometimes maybe assume that that's part of the job responsibility, but it might not be anyone connected to a certain office or a certain place, but there are stakeholders on campus that can provide valuable information on how they mentor, how they reach out, how they listen. And so I thought that was such an important point. And as an administration and faculty, finding a way to really celebrate not only the work, but understand why it has impact, why those individuals have impact, right? The other part that you mentioned that I wrote down was, your students said that they did not feel that their events were necessarily promoted at the same level or with the same communication, but they admitted that they didn't take advantage of the institutional opportunities to promote. And then I wrote down underneath that, I acknowledge and respect that the students said that, but my note underneath that is, are there institutional barriers, perceived or real, the promotion of ideas of students of color, events, etc., that exist kind of wholly, that prevent students from feeling comfortable, whether that is an institutional form or like a physical act of promoting that, or whether it's a perceived impression of importance or relevance that is expressed by faculty, staff, and administration or other students. And so I think, you brought up so many really important points, especially in your findings, that I think provide deeper exploration for administrators, faculty, staff, and students on campus to have honest reflection about, right? And there's surface level follow through that is acknowledged, but I think there's more there, right? There's more there, and so I appreciated the opportunity to reflect on that, both in my own practice, but also just kind of as a higher ed practice. So those are my comments. Again, very well done, and I appreciated your extensive work and presentation today.
Thank you so much, Dr. Damaso.
Any other questions or comments for Karen?
Yes, this is Sonia Stills, Karen's boss, and I just want to say we are, as you can see with the staff, you did tell them not to do it, but we are super excited and proud of you, and we acknowledge the hard work that it took for you to get there with the balance of what you're doing here in the conference office, and you do such a good job. So we are just super happy for you, and we can't wait for you to come back to the office tomorrow.
Thank you. I'll be there bright and early.
Hey, Karen, congratulations on an exemplar presentation.
Thank you.
I'm happy that it was so great. I'm a little sad that I got to follow you sometime after that. So
oh, we're fine. We're fine. And I'm available to help you now that mine is over, so we can make yours just as great, if not greater.
Sounds good. Hey, one of the questions, I know your focus was Black males on campus. What were your thoughts about not including females for this? Because I would imagine some of the experiences, especially microaggressions, are occurring on the campuses as well. So I just wanted your thoughts on how you came to your determination.
So after serving on the racial equity group, the Black male student graduation rate was like the most glaring issue. So if we had to pick an issue to focus on, I wanted to focus firstly on Black males, because the Black females are graduating at higher percentages than the men were. So if we had to tackle one issue immediately, it would have been fixing the Black male student retention and graduation rate.
Great, thank you.
Anyone else?
Yes, Karen. Hey, Karen, it's David. I want to say, Karen,
I can-
congratulations. It's David, and I really appreciated your presentation. I thought that was wonderful. And again, you know, I've been following your research for 2.5 years now, and it's really exciting. I think, honestly, I think this could be duplicated or replicated into actual like work setting with from an HR perspective on welcoming colleagues of color and impressions and microaggressions that they feel when they're
Absolutely.
entering and also during the interview process as well too. So congratulations again.
Absolutely, David. Thank you.
Karen, I just wanted to say I'm very proud of you. And I remember the days that you told me that you wanted to pursue your doctorate degree. And I'm just so happy it has come to fruition for you and your family. And a well done professional job. And brought back memories for me during my doctoral dissertation a long, long time ago. But congratulations, and we're very proud of you.
Thank you, Dr. Thomas. Thanks for being here.
Anyone else? Well, I thank you all for attending. We're gonna, I guess, dismiss you, for lack of a better word. Karen, you're gonna stay on for a couple of minutes longer. Again, thank you all. Have a great day.
Bye, Karen. Great job.
Thank you. Take care, everybody.
Congratulations,
Karen.
Dr. Carty.
Thank you.
I'll talk to you
Congratulations,
soon.
Karen.
All right. Thanks,
Good job,
everybody.
Karen.
Thanks,
Karen,
Nakia.
you need to send me your dissertation.
Yes, ma'am, I will. Once it's edited, I'll
Okay.
get it to you. Hey,
All
Cree.
right.
Congratulations.
Thanks, Alexis.
Congratulations,
Hey,
Carla.
Love you,
Amanda.
girl.
I'll talk to
Thank
you
you. Love
later.
everybody. See you guys. Take care, Oheen. See you, Dad.
Oh.
I didn't want to speak over everyone, Karen, but I want to tell you that I love you and I'm very proud
Love
of
you
you.
too. Okay, boo. Thanks. I'll
From
call
the
you
start
later.
to the finish. Love you. I'll talk to you soon.
Yes, ma'am. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
I'm gonna go ahead and start recording.
Okay.